Welcome live to Holt Fieldhouse for a South Atlantic Conference volleyball matchup between the visiting Newberry Wolves and the Carson-Newman Eagles right here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you. I'll be taking you through all of tonight's action out on the hardwood as Carson-Newman looks to continue an impressive showing at home. Last time out here at Holt Fieldhouse, a 5-set loss to the number 24 Wingate Bulldogs at the time. Tusculum losing in straight sets, and then defeating Georgia College after losing 25-10 in the first set. The next three went to Carson-Newman in a 3-1 victory, but then a loss to USC Aiken. So Carson-Newman comes into this one 9-11 on the season, 6-4 in the South Atlantic Conference. As we're getting the starters introduced right now on the Newberry side of things, Kiko Santos, first-year head coach, has led the Wolves to a 5-13 record so far, 4-6 in the South Atlantic Conference. But the Wolves are coming off a win against LMU on senior night for Newberry, so should be a good one tonight. Let's talk about some starting lineups for both sides. First for the Newberry Wolves. Number 3, Kate Brown. Number 7, Annie Dill. Number 9, Madison Watson. Number 14, Margaret McMahon. Number 21, Taylor Hall. Number 22, Samantha Schaefer. And the libero, number 2, Olivia Bradley. For Carson-Newman, number 3, Blair Cherry. Number 4, Skylar Weaver. Number 5, Julia Wheeler. Number 10, Taylor Adams. Number 11, Emma Grace Cobb. Number 15, Bennett McCombs. And the libero, number 6, McKenna Hall. So pretty typical starting lineup for Carson-Newman, looking to get a win here tonight against Newberry and improve their home record on the season. Only one loss here at Holt Fieldhouse for Carson-Newman. That loss to Wingate. Did get a big rivalry win over Tusculum here at home. So it's been a really successful fall season here at home for Carson-Newman volleyball. As we're getting ready to go, teams will meet at half court and we'll get ready to roll here from Holt Fieldhouse. Fans continue to trickle in what's been a busy start to this week here in Mossy Creek. Had a men's soccer game last night against Lee. The men played to a tie with the Lee Flames, the last non-conference match of the season on the men's side. Tomorrow, Carson-Newman women will take on Bluefield State at home over there at McCown Field. So first 3 days of the week, lots of games going on for multiple sports here at Carson-Newman. As the girls are ready to go out here on the hardwood tonight. Carson-Newman looking to get that 7th SAC win to continue what's been a solid season in the South Atlantic Conference. Newberry, on the other hand, is looking to maybe salvage their season a little bit. Did face a couple big losing streaks. Started off the season 1-0 at home in the Newberry Invite with a win over Belmont Abbey, but then multiple consecutive losses, 7 to be exact. Actually make that 9 losses before they got the win against Coker. So it's been an up and down season for Newberry. 5 wins overall, 4 coming in the South Atlantic Conference, defeating Limestone, UVA Wise, LMU, and Coker. So those are 4 wins in the South Atlantic Conference. A loss at Wingate, a loss at Catawba, a loss at Lenore Ryan, a loss to Anderson, 2 losses to Anderson for those 6 losses on the season in the South Atlantic Conference for Newberry. So getting ready to go, it'll be Taylor Hall to serve for the Wolves. No score here in the first set as we're getting underway. Here's a serve from Hall. Cherry sets it up in the net. Weaver puts it down past the outstretched arms of Annie Dill. Point Carson-Newman. Quick substitute. Emma Grace Cobb comes in. McKenna Hall checks out. After the kill from Skylar Weaver to start this one off, 1-0 Carson-Newman out in front. Weaver will now go back to serve for the Eagles. Back row to Bradley. Now played near the net. Emma Grace Cobb trying for the kill, but no dice right there. Now it's far side for Wheeler, but she pushes it past the back line. Point Newberry. 1-1 in the early going as Olivia Bradley goes back to serve. 3 attacks so far. The first couple points for Carson-Newman. 1 kill with the Skylar Weaver kill as Bennett McCombs receives a serve from Bradley. Far side Wheeler, and it goes off the hands of the middle blockers and down. Point Carson-Newman. The kill for Julia Wheeler, her first of the night, as now she goes back to serve. A lot of power being shown. Got it past the hands of Dill and McMahon at the net. As here's a serve from Wheeler. This one's set up near side, poked over by Schaefer. A violation on the Wolves. Point Carson-Newman. Samantha Schaefer, the sophomore, 2022 SAC Freshman of the Year. She's had a really good season so far for Newberry, but the mistake right there is Carson-Newman leads 3-1. Now Schaefer is blocked at the net by Taylor Adams and Emma Grace Cobb. It goes down, point Carson-Newman. So a very talented player on the other side for Newberry. Carson-Newman has handled her so far. The violation on Schaefer and blocked at the net. As Wheeler tees up the serve, Carson-Newman leads 4-1. Far side, McCombs with the dig. Now near side for Adams. She pokes it down, gets off the hands of the middle blockers and scores. Point Carson-Newman, a 4-0 scoring run to take the 5-1 lead. Good start for Carson-Newman. Leading this one 5-1. Wheeler tees up the serve again. This one's set up for Schaefer again, and it goes off her hand errantly. An attacking error for Samantha Schaefer, point Carson-Newman. Rough start for Samantha Schaefer, who's really been an excellent player, 178 kills on the year. Still trying to find her footing in this one as Wheeler serves yet again. This one goes out of bounds. Point Newberry. So far, the only points for Newberry, an attacking error, now a service error by Julia Wheeler. As substitute comes in, it's Katie Morrison checking in to serve. 6-2, Eagles out in front here early on. This one off the hands awkwardly of Wheeler, then Cherry at the net. Nice job by Hall to knock over the free ball as it goes far side. The dig off the attack by Brown. Now McCombs dumps it over. Set up at the net, blocked. Nice dig for the moment. This one bounces around and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Bit of an odd rally there. Carson-Newman able to finish it off. Now leading 7-2. Taylor Kieran checks in for the first time. Bennett McCombs checks out. Taylor Adams will serve. So far, Newberry struggling. 4 attacks, 3 attacking errors. The only 2 points again off a service error. Another one right there by Taylor Adams. Point Newberry. Here comes Trinity Hafey for Taylor Adams. So 2 service errors and an attacking error for Carson-Newman. The only source of scoring so far for the Newberry Wolves. Cameron Boyd checks back in to serve. She's had a solid season, 208 digs. The season high 29 coming at Catawba. She'll serve here. Back row for Wheeler. Cherry sets it up for Cobb. Big swing, puts it down on the near sideline. But they're going to call that one out of bounds. Looked like that caught a piece of the near sideline, but I'm going to say it's out off the swing by Emma Grace Cobb. So a 2-0 run for Newberry. As Boyd serves again, this one short. Put up at the net. Cherry keeps it alive near side for Kieran. Nice dig near the front of the net. Now free ball at the net, put down by Newberry. The kill by Margaret McMahon, the first kill of tonight's match for Newberry, and just like that, the Wolves are within 2. Here's a serve again from Boyd, and this one goes out of bounds, point Carson-Newman. So a service error for the Wolves, their first of the night. 8 attacks so far for Newberry, 1 kill, 3 attacking errors. Again, Carson-Newman has been the source of a couple Newberry points early on as McKenna Hall back in to serve. This one goes off the hands of Katie Morrison, now near the net. Dumped over. Cherry sets it up for Weaver. Big swing and puts it down. Point Carson-Newman. Skylar Weaver's second kill of the night. And it comes via the big swing to give Carson-Newman the 9-5 lead. Eagles out in front. Hall goes back to serve yet again. Carson-Newman asserting its dominance at the net here in the early going as Hall tees it up. Set up far side for Hall. Goes off the hands of Hafey and over near the Carson-Newman bench, point Newberry. The kill for Taylor Hall. Newberry sticking in this set despite being down pretty much the whole time. Only one tie, that 1-1 tie. But Newberry's done a good job sticking around. trailing 9-6. There's a couple subs in. Going back to serve is Anna Hapner. This one set up by Cherry, far side for Wheeler, and it goes off the hands of the middle blockers. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor Hall and Madison Watson tried to time up the block there, but Skylar Weaver just too much, leading the Eagles so far with 3 kills. Blair Cherry now serving. This one's set up for Hall, but they're going to call a carry on Newberry. Point Carson-Newman. 11-6 your score. Coach Kiko Santos needs a timeout. Newberry trails 11-6. We'll be right back on the other side here on the Eagle Sports Network. The Eagles very efficient so far here in the first set. 6 kills and 11 attacks at .364 hitting percentage as they lead 11-6 over the Newberry Wolves here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you tonight, taking you through all the action on the hardwood. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. As Blair Cherry set to serve for Carson-Newman. Out in front by 5. A couple errors have kept the Wolves in this set. As Cherry with the serve goes back row for Boyd. Now Hall far side, big swing, puts it down off the hands of McKenna Hall. Point Newberry. Taylor Hall's second kill, only the 3rd kill of the first set for the Newberry Wolves. As the talented Samantha Schaefer checks back in. Talked about her a little bit earlier. The 2022 South Atlantic Conference Freshman of the Year. As Dill with the serve for Newberry. Cherry sets far side, big swing by Kieran and puts it down in front of the diving Boyd. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor Kieran with the kill puts Carson-Newman back in front 12-7 as McCombs and Adams check back in. Carson-Newman gets the serve back. It'll be Bennett McCombs to serve. There's a serve from McCombs. That's off the hands of Boyd and down. Service ace Carson-Newman. Service ace for Bennett McCombs. First service ace of the night for either side. That really has been a point of emphasis for Ashley Tiernan and her squad. We've seen that play a big role in multiple games here at Holt Fieldhouse. Carson-Newman with a commanding 6-point lead. McCombs will serve once again. Awkward bump by Hall. It goes back to her. She'll just have to dump the free ball over. Cherry sets up for Adams, and she puts it down. That's Julia Wheeler with the kill. Big swing for Wheeler, her second of the match. Second in this first set. Carson-Newman now doubling up Newberry, 14-7. McCombs will serve once again for Carson-Newman on a 3-0 scoring run, now a 4-0 scoring run. Bennett McCombs gets her second service ace off the hands of Catherine Boyd. Point Carson-Newman, that's Cannon Boyd back there in the back row. Nonetheless, Carson-Newman out in front by 8. So we have a new substitute coming in for the Eagles. Skylar Weaver checks out. Ella Gay checks in for Carson-Newman. As McCombs serves. Received by Boyd that time on the back row. Now set up for a Hall. Nice dig by Cherry. Now Gay at the net. Set up right in front for a Wolf. Cherry just has to dump it over. Goes off a couple hands. Now Hall with the big swing. Puts it down on the back line. Point Newberry. Taylor Hall's 3rd kill of the night leads the Newberry Wolves so far. She's got 3 of the 4 kills for Newberry so far. As Cannon Boyd checks out. Kate Brown checks back in. Taylor Hall will serve for Newberry. Cherry sets it up near the net for Gay. Goes off the hands of the middle blockers, kept alive for Newberry. As it goes towards Schaefer. Cherry with the dig. Now McCombs bumps towards Wheeler. Nice job to get it back over by Newberry as Cherry sets it up for Adams. Big swing. She's blocked. As now Wheeler far side. Great dig on the far sideline by Bradley. And now Schaefer near the net. Goes right into the net. Another attacking error for Samantha Schaefer. Point Carson-Newman. Hall checks out. Cobb back in. I'm sure Samantha Schaefer was a point of emphasis for Ashley Tiernan in preparation for this game. As Ella Gay will serve. This one's set up. Big swing near the net, but it goes right into the net by Madison Watson. Point Carson-Newman. 17-8 your score. The Eagles controlling. Boyd receives. Hall receives now towards Schaefer. Dig by McCombs on the back row. Cherry sets up far side for Wheeler, and she puts it down. Point Carson-Newman. Right in between the diving attempt by Annie Dill and Taylor Hall. Timeout Newberry. Carson-Newman leads 18-8. In steady control of this first set. We'll be right back on the other side here on the Eagle Sports Network. Welcome back to Holt Fieldhouse. Carson-Newman with an impressive showing here in the first set, leading by 10, 18-8. Here on the Eagle Sports Network, Ryan Wilkes with you. As Carson-Newman has looked the part, very tough team to beat at home. They've shown that all season. The only loss here at home coming to number 24, Wingate. Very competitive 5-set match between those two teams. As Gay will serve once again, Carson-Newman on a 3-0 scoring run. As this one's set up for Schaefer, goes off the hands of Adams and Cobb. Kept alive, now Wheeler is blocked at the net by Madison Watson and Kate Brown. Point Newberry. First block of the night for Newberry. As Margaret McMahon checks back in. Newberry back within 9. As Olivia Bradley tees up the serve. Now to Cobb. Big swing, but goes right past the back line. Excuse me, they're going to say that was tipped. Point Carson-Newman. Call on the back line was that it went off the hand of a Wolf. It's Carson-Newman back in front by 10. There's Julia Wheeler teeing up the serve. This one right near the net and put down by Emma Grace Cobb. As she found that ball just floating over the net. Easy kill for Cobb. 20-9 your score after the kill from Emma Grace Cobb. So far, a lot of the Eagles contributing to this dominant first set. As Julia Wheeler serves. This one set up far side for Brown. Goes off of Adams' hands and out of bounds. Point Newberry. Substitute coming in for Newberry. Katie Morrison checks back in. Eagles in steady control here in the first set. Need 5 points to close this one out, leading by 10. As Morrison will serve. Cherry sets it up for Cobb. Big swing. It's tipped around. Initially blocked at the net, but will fall on Newberry's side. Point Carson-Newman. Emma Grace Cobb with her 4th kill. As Taylor Kieran checks in, Bennett McCombs checks out. As Taylor Adams will serve. 11-point lead for the Eagles here in the first set. Back row to Morrison. Now far side Brown. Big swing, she'll put it down. Right past McKenna Hall and Taylor Adams, point Newberry. Trinity Hayfie checking in, Taylor Adams checking out. And Cannon Boyd will check in for Kate Brown. So far, Carson-Newman dominating in pretty much every statistical category. 24 attacks to 20 for Newberry. Carson-Newman executing half of those attacks with 3 attacking errors. 12 kills on the night. As Cherry sets it up near side Kieran. Nice dig by Bradley on the far side. Now a set for Hall. Kept alive. Cherry keeps it alive for a moment, but it goes down. Point Newberry. Newberry trying to crawl back into this first set, trailing by 9. Carson-Newman leads 21-12. As Cannon Boyd will serve again. Cherry sets it up for Wheeler. Nice dig by Boyd on the back row. Bradley bumps it back towards Hall. Cherry with the dump. Bradley keeps it alive. Great job by Olivia Bradley. As this one will go down off the swing from Taylor Hall. Point Newberry. All really set up by that diving dig by Olivia Bradley. That kept the point alive, and now Newberry on a bit of a scoring run. As Cannon Boyd tees up the serve again. Cherry sets it up for Cobb. This one dumped over, but kept alive by Carson-Newman, ready for it off the hands of Annie Dill. And now near side. Swing by McMahon, now towards Hall. Cherry sets it up near side Kieran. Big swing, tipped at the net, but goes down, point Carson-Newman. Newberry has had a presence at the net, but only one block so far, and a couple times it's just gone off the hands of the middle blockers, not being able to be retrieved by any other Wolf. As Carson-Newman leads 22-13, McKenna Hall goes back to serve. That ends a 3-0 Newberry scoring run. This one set up by Dill. Far side Hall. Cherry bumps it towards Kieran. Nice dig by Morrison. Now far side Hall. Big swing hit by Gay and Cherry, but goes down. Point Newberry. Hapner checks back in, as well as Watson. Bradley and McMahon check out. So Newberry, after a slow start, has got it going a little bit. 8 kills to Carson-Newman's 13. As Cherry sets it up for Kieran. Big swing, she's blocked, but it goes out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. Excuse me, they're going to give the point to Newberry. After the violation, I believe, on Taylor Kieran. So just like that, Newberry still in this first set, down 22-15. Carson-Newman's been out in front, but Newberry not going down easy as this one goes off the top of the net and down. Service ace for Anna Hapner. Point Newberry. See the Newberry bench starting to get back into it a little bit. Newberry still trails by 6 as Hapner serves. Cherry sets it up for Wheeler. She's blocked and it goes down. Point Newberry. The block by Madison Watson and Annie Dill. Now a 4-0 scoring run for the Wolves within 5. Served by Hapner. Cherry bumps it towards Kieran. Kept alive. On to the Carson-Newman side. Cherry has to reposition herself. Now back towards Wheeler. Dill sets it up Hall far side. Off the hands of Taylor Kieran. Nice awareness by McKenna Hall, but it's off the roof and out of bounds. Point Newberry. That will signal a timeout from Ashley Tiernan Newberry on a 5-0 scoring run, now within 4. 22-18, Carson-Newman still leads, but the Wolves catching some fire here in the first set on the Eagle Sports Network. Eagles still out in front, 22-18 here in the first set, but after being in control for this whole set pretty much, Newberry goes on a 5-0 scoring run to bring it within 4 here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes once again with you here tonight as Carson-Newman looks for an important win in the South Atlantic Conference here at home after a bit of a tough road stretch. 22-18, Hapner will serve. Cherry sets it up near side. Kieran, big swing, nice dig by Cannon Boyd. Goes right over the Carson-Newman side, dumped by Cherry. Dill sets up far side. Big swing by Hall, kept alive by Carson-Newman on the back row, dig by Hayfeet. Now Wheeler. Dill sets it up for Hall, far side. McKenna Hall on the back row, now to Kieran. Cannon Boyd with a nice dig on the far side, now back row for Hapner. Tip to the net, kept alive by Hayfeet. Now dumped over by Taylor Kieran. Dill sets it up for Hall, big swing, back row dig for Hayfeet. Nice rally going here between the two sides. Now Julia Wheeler finishes it off. Point Carson-Newman. An important point there. Newberry had all the momentum, and a long rally ends with a Julia Wheeler kill to end the 5-0 scoring run and get Carson-Newman within 2 points of the first set. Here's Blair Cherry to serve. Over towards Dill, play at the net, and Annie Dill wins the battle. Point Newberry. Annie Dill by herself took down 2 Carson-Newman middle blockers for the point. As now Dill will go back to serve. Newberry still within 4 points. Carson-Newman looking to close out this first set. That's been heavily controlled by the Eagles. Sherry sets it up for Wheeler. Big swing. Cannon Boyd with the dig. And poked over by Schaefer. Now Taylor Kieran tips it over. Blair Cherry near side Wheeler. Boyd on the back row again, doing a nice job. Now Hall with the big swing. Right back to Taylor Hall, and she puts it into the net. Point Carson-Newman. So kept alive there by Cannon Boyd, but the Wolves could not finish it off, and now Carson-Newman will have set point here in set number 1. Good fight by the Wolves, but it'll be all for naught if Bennett McCombs can finish it off right here. 24-19 the score. McCombs with the serve. Dill sets it up near side Hall. She pushes it past McKenna Hall off her hands and out of bounds. Point Newberry. So Newberry down but not out. As Kate Brown will check in for Cannon Boyd, who gets a much-deserved break. 5 digs here in the first set. As Taylor Hall will serve. Goes off the hands awkwardly of Adams, off the rim of the basketball goal, and that'll be a service ace for Taylor Hall. An awkward back row reception by Taylor Adams. It goes off her hands, almost trickles into the basketball hoop. Sadly, that will be no points for either side. But here's a serve from Taylor Hall, 24-21 the score. So 24-20 the score. Still sets up for Brown. Cherry sets up near side Adams. She's blocked by Schaefer and Watson at the net. Point Newberry. Third block of the game of the first set here for the Wolves. Actually, it's 24-22. Newberry on a 3-0 scoring run. Trailing by 2. Wheeler now towards Adams. Bradley with the back row dig. Now Dill sets up Schaefer. She's blocked, tipped around and down. Point Carson-Newman. And despite a big push from Newberry, Carson-Newman gets it done. 25-21. Carson-Newman wins set number 1 as we'll get ready for set number 2 on the other side. Carson-Newman leads 1-0 right here on the Eagle Sports Network. Welcome back to Holt Fieldhouse. Carson-Newman leads 1-0 here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you as Carson-Newman. Pretty impressive first set. Newberry did fight back. Slow start for the Wolves, but they certainly picked it up and almost stole that first set from Carson-Newman. Got within 3 points near the end. Newberry falls just short, but the Wolves starting to get their feet under them here at Holt Fieldhouse as we enter set number 2. Looks like Carson-Newman will serve to start off this second set. Again, Newberry, been a bit of a tough season for them. Mentioned they face that 9-game losing streak in the midpoint of the season. After starting 1-0, 9 straight losses to fall to 1-9, but since then they are 4-4 in their last 4 matches. To improve to 5-13 on the season, 4-6 in the South Atlantic Conference. As here's the serve from Bennett McCombs to start off the second set, and it goes past the back line. Nice job by Taylor Hall to leave that one alone and let it soar past the back line. Point Wolves. Mentioned head coach Kiko Santos in his first season with Newberry. Spent 12 seasons at UNC Asheville as Cherry sets it up for Wheeler, and it goes off the hands of the Diamond Olivia Bradley. Point Carson-Newman. 5 kills now for Julia Wheeler. As it'll be Skylar Weaver to serve. 1-1 your score. That was the only tie we had there in set number 1. As this one's set up far side. Goes off the hands of Weaver, back to McCombs. Now Wheeler will have to dump over the free ball. Dill sets up for Brown, but too much on that one. Pushes it past the back line. Actually, they're going to say it was tipped by Carson-Newman. Point Newberry. The first lead for Newberry in this match as they take the 2-1 lead here in the second set. So we have a bit of a stoppage here. Now we're ready to go. Kate Gross will serve, the freshman. Heavy contributor in her freshman year. As McCombs pushes it over the net, Wheeler gets it off the Newberry block. Now Adams with the big swing. She's blocked for a moment. Now Cherry near side Wheeler. Nice dig by Gross on the back row. Now Dill sets up for Brown. Goes off the hands of Wheeler and Cobb. Point Newberry. Talks about Kate Gross as she goes back to serve once again. Has played in 56 sets as a freshman. 81 assists on the year. Season high came versus Shepherd with 17. She serves again. Cherry sets up near side Wheeler, and it goes past the back line. Point Newberry. So a 4-1 run out of the gate for the Wolves to take a 3-point advantage. The only lead so far for Newberry in this match. The only tie in that first set was at 1-1, and despite Newberry fighting back, couldn't tie or take the lead there in the first set. As Cherry sets it up far side for Adams. Goes off the hands of Gross and into the far side bleachers. Point Carson-Newman. Kill for Taylor Adams. Her second of the match. As Carson-Newman back within 2. Julia Wheeler back to serve once again for Carson-Newman. Goes back row for Hall. Now near side Brown. She's blocked as Gross keeps it alive. Dill sets up for Hall. Now Cherry to Cobb. Big swing, puts it down near the back line. Point Carson-Newman. Emma Grace Cobb has been a factor in this one. 5 kills to tie for the leading scorer on the Carson-Newman side. 5 kills apiece for Cobb and Wheeler. Taylor Hall leads all scorers with 7 on the night. As Wheeler with another serve. Dill pokes it far side for Brown. Brown is blocked at the net, but it's going to be a violation on Carson-Newman. Point Newberry. 5-3 your score as Katie Morrison checks back in. She will go back to serve. Much better start from Newberry here in the second set. Kind of played themselves into a bit of a hole. As that time Morrison puts a serve into the net. Service error Newberry, point Carson-Newman. Taylor Kieran checks back in for Bennett McCombs. Talking about that first set, Newberry got into a bit of a hole and couldn't quite climb out of it. They trailed by as much as 11 in that first set. Made it very competitive near the end, dropping it 25-21 as Taylor Adams with the service ace, point Carson-Newman. Taylor Adams has really been a factor with the serve, gets her first service ace of the night to tie this one up at 5. Here's the next serve from Adams. Dill sets it up for Hall. Tipped around at the net and it goes down, and from the diving hands of Taylor Kieran. Couldn't quite get to it off the tip by Cobb and Cherry. Point Newberry as they retake the 1-point lead. Checking in is Trinity Hafey for Carson-Newman. Taylor Adams checks out. Anna Hapner back in for Newberry. She'll serve. Newberry with the 1-point lead, 6-5 early on in the second set. Cherry sets up Kieran far side. She pokes it right over the middle blockers and down. Point Carson-Newman. Rose couldn't quite get to that one as it goes over the hands of Dill and Watson. Carson-Newman ties it back up at 6. Again, a Hall back to serve for Carson-Newman. Here's the serve from Hall. Morrison towards the net. Dill will poke it over and it goes down. Point Newberry. Nice job by Annie Dill. Instead of setting that one up, she takes it herself and scores. Emma Christensen checks in. Annie Dill will go back to serve. 7-6, Newberry out in front in the second set. As Cherry sets up Weaver near side, pokes it over the middle blockers again and down. Carson-Newman has done a good job avoiding the middle blockers who have been a factor for Newberry with 3 blocks so far. They've just got it over those middle blockers and it goes down. That back row not able to get to it in time. As Carson-Newman ties it back up at 7. Blair Cherry serves for Carson-Newman. Annie Dill sets up Watson and she puts it down and scores. Madison Watson with the kill, her first of the night, as Newberry retakes a 1-point lead. Morrison checks out. Back in is Kate Brown. For the first set that had 0 lead changes and only 1 tie, this one has had its fair share of both. As Cherry pushes it towards the net for Kieran. Bradley towards Brown. Big swing by Brown. Nice back row dig by Trinity Hafey. Far side now. Wheeler, she'll put it down and score. Trinity Hafey starts it with the dig. It goes to Blair Cherry for the set, and Julia Wheeler with the kill. Anna McCombs checks back in, as well as Taylor Adams for Trinity Hafey and Taylor Kieran. As we're tied back up at 8 apiece. Served by McCombs. Dill sets up in front of the net for Christensen, and she pokes it too far past the back line. Point Carson-Newman. Carson-Newman back in front by 1. As McCombs will go back to serve. 25-21, first set victory for Carson-Newman. Looking for another one right here to take commanding 2-0 lead. A lot of work left to do as Cherry sets it up for Wheeler. She's blocked and it's down by Kate Brown and Madison Watson. Mentioned those blockers have been such a threat for Newberry here in the early going. 4 blocks to 2 for Carson-Newman. As Margaret McMahon checks back in, Hapner checks out. It's really the only statistical category that Newberry's leading in here in this game is Bradley with the serve. Cherry sets it up for Weaver, and she'll put it down and score. Got a hit off her hand a little awkwardly, nonetheless, goes down. Point Carson-Newman. As I said, the only statistical category that Newberry leads in other than that is 27 digs to 24. But doubling up the Eagles in blocks so far, 4 for the Wolves, 2 for the Eagles. Here's Skylar Weaver with the serve. Dill bumps it towards Christensen off the hands of Bradley and out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. An awkward set near the top of the net. And Taylor Adams and Emma Grace Cobb get the block. 10-9, Carson-Newman out in front. Starting to be a bit of a decent crowd here at Holt Fieldhouse on a cold Tuesday night. As it looks like we're getting some confirmation over here from the referee and the scorekeepers. Nonetheless, starting to cool off here at Mossy Creek. It's been a hot couple weeks to start the fall season. But we're starting to get into that cooler fall weather as we trek into mid-October. There's a bit of an elongated stoppage here. Waiting to see what's going on over at the score table. We'll take a look around some sack volleyball action here tonight. As that issue continues to get worked out. Talk about Wingate, the only team to come into Holt Fieldhouse and take down the Carson-Newman Eagles so far this season. It's been a really nice home season for Carson-Newman. Haven't really had the same success on the road. That's something we'll look to iron out as we head toward the later part of this season. But looking at the sack volleyball standings, it is Wingate that sits atop the South Atlantic Conference, 10-1 in conference play, 17-2 overall. Two other teams tied up with them at the top. Anderson at 10-1, 17-3 overall, and Lenore Ryan 10-1 as well. 16-5 overall on the season. Tusculum tied or in second at 8-3, 12-6 on the season. Carson-Newman in third at 6-4 in sack play, 9-11 overall. Limestone behind them, 6-5, 8-6 on the season. And Morris Hill, 4-6, 8-7 in conference play, and that's really the top. Is looking to get some sack wins here later in the season. As Coker sitting at 2-16, 0-11 in conference play. Emory and Henry 6-11, 2-7 in the conference. Looking back at some of those standings and what can happen as we go throughout the later part of this season. Carson-Newman still within reach. We'll have to rely on Wingate, Anderson, and Lenore Ryan to slip up a little bit. They are closer to Tusculum, sitting at 8-3 in conference play, 12-6 overall. Carson-Newman split the season series with the Tusculum Pioneers. While this is still getting sorted out, we will take a quick break, and hopefully in short time we'll be ready to play volleyball once again here on the Eagles Sports Network. We're back ready to play some volleyball after a long stoppage there. Carson-Newman out in front 11-9. Not exactly sure what the stoppage was for. We might find out here in a little bit, but it was sure a long one. Both teams enjoying some music during that long break as Skylar Weaver will serve for Carson-Newman. Amy Dill sets it up at the net. Tipped around off a couple hands of Eagles and down kill for Margaret McMahon. And Newberry back within one. Long stoppage for both sides. We'll see how they come out of this break. As Kate Gross checks back in for Emma Christensen, and Gross will go serve. Mentioned the contributions that Kate Gross has had in her freshman year, playing 56 sets, this being her 57th. As Cherry sets it up for Wheeler, big swing off the hands of the middle blockers for Newberry. Point Carson-Newman. So we've seen the Eagles try to poke it over those middle blockers that time. Julia Wheeler went right for him and put it down for the kill. Point Eagles now out in front, 12-10. Here's the serve from Wheeler. Dill will set it up. McMahon pokes it over. Now far side for Adams. Big attempt by Bradley, but it goes down off her hands. Point Carson-Newman, kill Taylor Adams. Her third of the night. Carson-Newman leads 13-10, trying to open the second set up a little bit. That's been very back and forth. As this one right near the net, Cobb will put it down. Point Carson-Newman. That one awkwardly went off the hands of Taylor Hall. Tried to get it to Dill, but it went right to Cobb. And she put it right down at an angle. Point Carson-Newman. Here's a serve from Wheeler. Dill sets it up near side Brown, and she sticks it right into the net. Point Eagles. 15-10 the score as Carson-Newman with a 4-0 run out of the long break, and Kiko Santos needs a timeout for Newberry. Carson-Newman leads 15-10 on the other side here on the Eagles Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, Carson-Newman out in front by 5 on a 4-0 scoring run to lead 15-10 as Julia Wheeler with the serve once again. Dill near the net, she's blocked, tipped around by Newberry, and Gross will just have to give it over. Now Cherry sets up Cobb, big swing off the hands of Gross and down. Point Carson-Newman. Emma Grace Cobb got it in on the hands of Kate Gross, and it deflected out of bounds for the Carson-Newman kill. Carson-Newman out in front by 6 as Gabby Warren checks in for the first time, playing just her 4th set this season. As Dill sets it up for Brown, goes off the hands of Cherry and Cobb, and down Point Newberry. Katie Morrison checks in for Kate Brown. Newberry within 5. Started off this set up 4-1, but haven't been able to maintain that momentum. As Morrison goes back to serve for the Wolves, trailing by 5. Cherry sets it up in the middle for Cobb, and she puts it right down. Point Carson-Newman. The elevation by Emma Grace Cobb, just able to get it at the top of her jump and put it down for the kill. Taylor Kieran checks back in for Bennett McCombs. Carson-Newman leads by 6, 17-11. If you remember, in that first set, Newberry fell behind pretty significantly by 11. They're able to battle back. We'll see if they can do so right here. As Hall will poke it over, blocked to the net by Cobb and Cherry, but kept alive. As Hall with the big swing, received by Kieran on the dig, but it goes out of bounds over the net. Point Newberry. Here comes Anna Hapner back in. for Gabby Warren. Trinity Hafey back in for the Eagles as Taylor Adams checks out. 17-12 your score as Hapner serves. Hafey kept it alive for a moment, but it goes under the net off the hands of Blair Cherry. Service ace. Newberry. Anna Hapner gets the ace, his second of the night for Newberry. Here's a serve from Hapner. Cherry sets up for Cobb. Big swing off the hands of the middle blockers and out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. The kill for Emma Grace Cobb. 9 now on the night. Very efficient too. 9 kills and 12 attacks. And just 1 error. A .636 hitting percentage for Cobb, contributing to an overall really good night for the Eagles on the attack as McKenna Hall will serve. Gross back row now. Dill to Hall. A dig by Kieran, and Hall will poke over the free ball, and it goes down off the hands of Bradley. Point Carson-Newman. Not sure that was exactly her intention, just to keep the point alive, but it found some open hardwood as Olivia Bradley couldn't get to it. 19-13 Carson-Newman. McKenna Hall back to serve once again. Dill sets up near side Hall. This one poked over. Wheeler able to keep it alive. Played the net for Newberry as now Cherry goes for it, but it's blocked by the Wolves in Hall and Watson. Point Newberry. Coming in is Emma Christensen, checking in for Katie Gross. Serve up coming for Annie Dill. Newberry trails by 5, 19-14. We'll see what they can do here in the second set. They were able to make it competitive in the first. Sherry sets up far side for Kieran, pokes it over the hands of the middle blockers, and it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Overall, in the second set, the Eagles have done an excellent job finding ways to attack the presence at the net for Newberry, as the Wolves have had their fair share of blocks tonight. That time, Kieran poked it right over the top of them, and it went down as Blair Cherry serves. Dill far side for Hall. Blair Cherry with the dig. Now Hall towards Wheeler. Wheeler tries to go far sideline, but it goes out of bounds. Point Newberry. Julia Wheeler put just a little too much on that swing. Trying to find the far side of the court as Kate Brown checks back in for Katie Morrison. It will be Hall to serve. Hafey receives on the back row. Cherry sets up far side for Wheeler. That time, Wheeler gets it off the hands of Taylor Hall and down. Point Carson-Newman. Leaf kill for Julia Wheeler as Bennett McCombs and Taylor Adams come back in for Taylor Kieran and Trinity Hafey. So far, Taylor Hall leads all scorers with 10 kills, but Emma Grace Cobb and Julia Wheeler right behind her. As Cobb with 9, Wheeler with 8. As Bennett McCombs will serve, Carson-Newman out in front, 21-15. Dill sets up near side Brown. This one goes down off the hands of Wheeler and Weaver. Point Newberry. Kill for Kate Brown, her 7th on the night. As Gabby Warren checks back in, getting some time here. As I mentioned, she's only played in 3 sets all season. The sophomore out of Easley, South Carolina. As Bradley with the serve. Cherry sets up for Wheeler, who puts it down on the back line. Point Carson-Newman. Bit of a late call there, but Julia Wheeler gets the kill, finds the back line and scores. McKenna Hall checks out. Carson-Newman leads by 6, needs 3 points to take a 2-0 advantage in sets. As Skylar Weaver will serve. Dill sets up Brown. Pokes it over the middle blockers. Now McCombs towards Wheeler. Wheeler tries to go cross court again. It goes right to the net. Point Newberry. Brown checks back in for Christensen as Julia Wheeler has some words with Ashley Tiernan. Maybe looking just to simplify the approach here. Wheeler trying to be strategic there and go cross court. to avoid those middle blockers, but just couldn't get it over the net. As Gross will serve. Now Cherry far side Adams. Big swing down on the back line. We're going to say that was out of bounds. Just missed the back line, did Taylor Adams. Point Newberry. Starting to look similar to that first set. Newberry falls behind, but they're starting to claw back a little bit. As Gross will serve again. Carson-Newman leads by 4. Cherry sets up Cobb. She'll put it down and score. Emma Grace Cobb now in double-digit kills. The first Eagle to reach double digits, as Cobb has 10. 23-18 now. As Julia Wheeler will go back to serve. Carson-Newman looking to avoid that late push from Newberry, as the Wolves almost were able to come back in that set, as this one's right over the top of the net. Adams tried to poke it over. Now it's Julia Wheeler. Dill for Brown. Big swing goes off the hands of Cherry. Now Cherry far side for Adams. Tries to poke it over the middle blockers for the Wolves, but kept alive. As now Cherry with the dump. Great dig by Gross to keep it alive. Now an awkward jump. Now dumped over again by Cherry, and she scores. Bit of an awkward point there, as it looked like Warren mistimed her jump, just had to poke it over, and the Wolves were out of position. Blair Cherry takes advantage, and now set point for Carson-Newman. 24-18. The Eagles look to close it out right here and take a commanding 2-0 lead in sets. Here's a serve from Wheeler, and a whistle. Violation on Newberry, point Carson-Newman. So a bit of an anticlimactic way to end the second set. Nonetheless, it goes to Carson-Newman. Newberry kind of standing on the court in disbelief. Maybe looking to argue this here. Kiko Santos is doing the same. Nonetheless, call stands on the court, 25-18. Carson-Newman wins set number 2. We'll take a quick break and be back. Carson-Newman leads 2-0 here on the Eagle Sports Network. Welcome back to Holt Fieldhouse as we get ready for set number 3. Carson-Newman leads 2 sets to nothing. 25-21 in the first set, 25-18 in the second. That's where we sit right now here on the Eagle Sports Network. Ryan Wilkes with you, taking you through all of tonight's action on the hardwood as Carson-Newman very efficient so far tonight. 79 attacks, 33 kills, 11 errors, but a 278 hitting percentage. Emma Grace Cobb leads the Eagles with 10 kills. The only Eagle in double digits, but Julia Wheeler right there with her at 9 kills so far tonight. Taylor Hall leads the Newberry Wolves, 10 kills, and the next closest Kate Brown with 7. As Emma Grace Cobb, very efficient tonight, as I mentioned, 10 kills, just 1 error and 13 attacks, is .692 hitting percentage. So she's had herself a night. As Carson-Newman looks to close it out in straight sets, Newberry looks to keep it alive. Now the Eagle Sports Network, as we're getting ready to roll. Had quite the stoppage there in the second set. Still not exactly sure what signaled that stoppage, but took some time. Both teams had a good time during the break, as it looks like trying to confirm everything before we get this third set underway. So there's no confusion and no elongated stoppages here in set 3. Carson-Newman did a really nice job in that second set, finding a way to attack those middle blockers and make them less of a factor. Had a couple times just getting it over top of them, and that back row couldn't get to it quite in time. Newberry relies on those middle blockers to make plays, and Carson-Newman kind of took that out of their hands some in the second set. A couple times just went right at them. Big Julia Wheeler had a couple nice kills. As Bradley tees up the serve for Newberry, Cherry sets up Weaver, awkwardly goes off her hands, but it all works the same. Point Carson-Newman. Not sure that was the intention there, but nonetheless, she finds some hardwood and scores. 1-0 Carson-Newman. Skylar Weaver now will serve. As Dill sets it up. Watson tries to go near side, and she cannot, goes out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. Not a bad idea there by Madison Watson. Kind of a bit of misdirection. Just couldn't find the near sideline and goes out of bounds. Carson-Newman with the 2-0 lead. 2-0 run out of the gate in this third set as Carson-Newman looks to close this out in 3-0 fashion. But Taylor Hall far side to dig on the back row by McCombs. Now Wheeler, big swing, puts it down in front of Olivia Bradley. Point Carson-Newman. Julia Wheeler's 10th kill of the night. Talked about how some in that second set, they tried to go over the top of those blockers. That time, Julia Wheeler goes right through them for the point. As Weaver serves again, 3-0 run for Carson-Newman to start this set, or this third set. As Hall far side, big swing goes off the hands of Wheeler, off the top roof. Good job by Weaver to keep it alive. As now Dill sets up Hall far side. This time, she puts it down the far sideline and scores. Taylor Hall may be robbed of a kill by Skylar Weaver. Wasn't robbed of it the second time. As she gets Newberry's first point of this third set. 3-1 your score. So quick whistle waiting on the signal to resume play. It'll be Annie Dill to serve. Carson-Newman leads by 2 through the first 4 points of the third set. Cherry far side, Wheeler. Dig by Bradley. Now towards Hall yet again. Now McKenna Hall, far side, Taylor Adams. Off the hands of the middle blockers and down. Scored by Taylor Adams, point Carson-Newman. Carson-Newman had some struggles with those middle blockers for Newberry, but since then they've really gone at them and just tried to either overpower them or get it over top of them, and it's worked effectively. Wheeler back to serve again, 4-1, Carson-Newman out in front. Dill towards Schaefer, nice dig by McCombs on the back row. Now Hall towards Adams, Adams will bump it over. Dill near the net, and she'll run right into it, point Carson-Newman. The Eagles have done a really good job dealing with Samantha Schaefer tonight, 2022 SAC Freshman of the Year. She's been a non-factor tonight, went for the kill right there. Her 10th attack, no kills and 5 errors. As Julia Wheeler will serve, Carson-Newman leads 5-1. As this goes off the hands of Hall and out of bounds. Service ace, Julia Wheeler, point Carson-Newman. What a start here in this third set for the Eagles. Hopping out in front by 5. Wheeler will serve once again for Carson-Newman. Dill sets up near side Hall. Cherry to Adams. Big swing. Morrison keeps it alive on the back row. And now Schaefer far side goes near far sideline and scores. Samantha Schaefer's first kill of the night, much needed to get her going. As Brown checks in for Morrison, Taylor Hall will go back to serve. This one looking more like the first set, where there's just one tie, no lead changes. In the second set, 6 ties and 1 lead change. And now Emma Grace Cobb, big swing, puts it down right at the midcourt logo. Point Carson-Newman. Emma Grace Cobb and Julia Wheeler jockeying atop the score sheet. 11 kills for Cobb now, 10 for Wheeler. As Carson-Newman leads 7-2. Taylor Adams back to serve. Dill near the net, but Cobb and Kieran will put it down. Point Carson-Newman. That will go to Taylor Kieran on the near side. Found it right over the top of the net. No problem for her. Putting it down, point Eagles. 8-2 the score. Commanding start for the Eagles here in this third set. As Adams serves. Dill to Schaefer, a big swing, goes off the hands of Cobb and Kieran. And now poked over by Cherry and scored. Great awareness by Blair and Cherry. Nobody really on that far side of the court. And Hall put an effort towards it but couldn't get there. Now timeout Newberry. Carson-Newman leads 9-2. Great start to this third set here on the Eagles Sports Network. Carson-Newman out in front, 9-2. Pretty commanding start to set number 3. Looking to end this one, 3-0. We'll see if they can keep it going here on the Eagles Sports Network. As Taylor Adams will serve once again, he goes out in front by 7. It's been a great showing by Carson-Newman tonight. Newberry has fought back quite a few times as we're waiting to resume play, but really it's been mostly controlled by Carson-Newman tonight. As Taylor Adams will serve again. Dill far side for Brown. Cherry sets up Cobb, big swing yet again, puts it down. Emma Grace Cobb finding success at the top of the net tonight with her 12th kill of the night. Great night from both Cobb and Wheeler, and overall the Eagles in general. As all back row now to Dill. Now Schaefer pokes it over the outstretched arms of Kieran and scores. Trinity Hayfield checks back in for Taylor Adams. So looking at Cobb's stat line, 12 kills and 15 attacks, 1 error. Julia Wheeler, 10 kills and 29 attacks and 10 digs. Double-double for Wheeler tonight. As another brief stoppage. Newberry looking to get a substitute in here. Bradley checks out. Checking in is Anna Hackner. 10-3, Carson-Newman still out in front. As Hafner goes back to serve for the Wolves. This one goes well past the back line. Service error for Anna Hafner, point Carson-Newman. Skylar Weaver back in for Emma Grace Cobb, who gets a much-deserved breather. As Carson-Newman has been excellent on the attack tonight. 40 kills and 88 attacks. 11 attacking errors for a .330 hit percentage. As Hall with the serve, and she'll push it past the back line, point Newberry. Back-to-back service errors as Hall matches the mistake of Hafner. Now it'll be Samantha Schaefer to serve. She's slowly gotten her feet under her in this one. 2 kills here in the third set. As Cherry towards the net for Kieran. Now Dill near the net. As Carson-Newman keeps alive. Now Julia Wheeler, nice dig by Bradley. Dill far side for Brown. Cherry to Kieran. Big swing past the back line. Point Newberry. 11-5 your score. Newberry starting to crawl back in just a little bit. Schaefer will retreat to serve yet again. Cherry near the net. As now Dill sets up. And it's down off the block by Carson-Newman. Bit of an awkward play there at the net. As McMahon tried to get it over, but it was put down. Can't tell if they're going to call that a block or just an attacking error for Newberry. Nonetheless, point Eagles. Now Dill, far side Brown. Big swing, she's blocked, but it goes out of bounds. The kill for Kate Brown, point Newberry. 8th kill for Brown on the night. As Katie Morrison checks in for Brown. Eagles still doubling up the Wolves here in the third set. 12-6 your score. But Newberry's starting to crawl back into it just a little bit. As here's a serve from Morrison. Cherry sets up Weaver. As now Dill towards Schaefer. Pokes it over the outstretched arms of Weaver. As Hall to Julia Wheeler. Nice dig by Bradley. Played near the net, and Julia Wheeler overpowers Annie Dill and scores. Julia Wheeler using her strength tonight to just overpower Newberry. She's got 11 kills now, 13-6 to score. Bennett McCombs in to serve for Carson-Newman. As the Eagles look well on their way to a victory tonight. McCombs tees up the serve. Dill sets up Hall far side. Big swing. McCombs, nice dig on the back row. As now Wheeler gets it over. Dill sets up McMahon. She pushes it past the back line. Point Carson-Newman. They're going to say that was tipped by Carson-Newman. So the kill for Margaret McMahon and scored. Carson-Newman still out front by 6. As Bradley checks in. She'll serve. Cherry sets up far side Wheeler. Dill now towards Hall. This one goes down. Tips off the hands of the middle blockers and scored for Newberry. So again, Newberry has been down but not out throughout this match. They've crawled back from a couple sizable deficits, doing so again here in the third set. As Adams, in awkward position, pushes it past the back line. Point Newberry. Just like that, the Wolves within 4. As Ashley Tiernan looks to calm her team down just a little bit. 2 timeouts on the board still for Carson-Newman. We'll see if they use these. Newberry continues to score. Cherry towards Weaver, goes off the hands of Schaefer and score. Right on cue, Carson-Newman does settle down and they score. Skylar Weaver gets the kill. New sub set to check in for Carson-Newman. She'll go back to serve. It'll be Cameron Bates to check in. So Bates will go serve for Carson-Newman. 14-9 your score. Carson-Newman leads by 5. As Bates puts it towards the back row for Schaefer. Far side Hall. She's blocked and it's down and scored. The block by Cobb and Adams. Point Carson-Newman. Great job at the front of the net by Adams and Cobb. Not much strength put over there on that attack for Newberry. Easy work for Cobb and Adams. Serve from Bates. Set far side for Hall. Nice dig on the back row by Cameron Bates. It's now near side of Wheeler. This one dumped over by Dill. McCombs towards Wheeler. Skies it over those middle blockers. Now Cobb met at the net. Cherry keeps it alive. And it's tipped around. Cobb couldn't get a read on it. Point Newberry. It's pretty much the only time tonight Emma Grace Cobb has been overpowered at the net. It's a point for Newberry, back within 5. 15-10. As Carson-Newman still in control, but Newberry has proved tonight that they're not going to go down easy. As Amy Dill will serve. Cherry sets up Adams. Big swing. She's blocked and it's down. The block by Schaefer and Watson at the net. Newberry really all night long has had that presence at the net. But Carson-Newman was able to avoid them for a while, or overpower them really. But Taylor Adams that time met by Schaefer and Watson. As Newberry gets its 5th block of the game. Dill with the serve. Cherry sets up far side Wheeler. Goes around the blockers that time, but Bradley able to get it. As now McCombs with the dig off the swing from Hall. A dump by Cherry, kept alive by Bradley. Now to Schaefer, and she pushes it past McKenna Hall. Point Newberry. I mentioned Samantha Schaefer. Really big-time player for this Newberry squad. Hadn't been much of a factor tonight until this 3rd set. All 3 of her kills coming in set number 3. As Newberry within 3 points, 15-12. Terry sets up Cobb. She's blocked, but Hall able to get it over. Now back row McCombs keeps it alive. Cherry sets up Wheeler. The dig by Dill. Near side for Hall. McKenna Hall back row. Now to Adams. Pokes it over the top of Schaefer and Watson. Point Carson-Newman. Taylor Adams with the kill. I mentioned the differentiated approaches the Carson-Newman Eagles have gone with tonight to really attack a tough presence at the night. Schaefer and Watson just had the block, and that time Adams able to sneak it over the top. Dill sets up Hall. She'll poke it over. Now Hall sets up for Wheeler. Off the top of the net, kept alive by Morrison, and she'll just have to dump over the free ball. Cherry sets up Adams. Big swing. The dig by Bradley goes back over the Carson-Newman side. Now Cobb, big swing, and it goes out of bounds. Off the top of the net, point Newberry. Kate Brown checks back in for Katie Morrison. 16-13 your score. As Taylor Hall will go back to serve. Cherry has to chase after it to retrieve it. Now Adams blocked at the net by Schaefer and Watson once again. Point Newberry. 16-14 now. As Carson-Newman, who started out this set in control, Newberry has fought back. As here's the serve from Hall. Cherry far side, dumped over by Wheeler. Now Dill sets up for Schaefer. A big swing, a dig by Wheeler to keep it alive. And now to Taylor Adams. Off the hands of Bradley and score. Taylor Adams maybe found herself just a little bit out of position there, a little further back than she'd like, but she still made it work and scored. McCombs checks out. Taylor Kieran back in. As Carson-Newman gets the serve back, 17-14 the score. Here's the serve for Taylor Adams. Dill sets up far side Brown. Big swing off the hands of Adams near the Carson-Newman bench. Point Newberry. Kill by Kate Brown as Hapner checks back in for Watson. As Trinity Hayfeed comes back in, also checking back in for Newberry's Margaret McMahon. As Bradley subs out. Here's a serve from Hapner. Cherry dumps over, and on the far sideline it goes down. Point Carson-Newman. Great job by Blair Cherry. Looked like she was going to set it up, but just poked it with her near side hand. Over to that far sideline, and it goes down. Carson-Newman still leads by 3. Fighting off the pesky Wolves tonight. Eagles have done it all night long, but look to do so again in set 3 to avoid pushing this one to 4 sets. Serve from Hall. Back row to Taylor Hall. Now Schaefer near the net. Cherry sets it up near side Kieran. Nice dig by Taylor Hall. Now far side for Kate Brown. She's blocked, but Schaefer able to keep it alive. Now far side Brown. And she goes far sideline, but is out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. Again, not a bad idea by Kate Brown right there. Just not precise enough to find that far sideline. As Carson-Newman leads 19-15, McKenna Hall back to serve again. Dill sets up near side for Schaefer over top of Weaver and Kieran, but kept alive. Now Wheeler with a big swing, goes off the hands of Dill. Point Carson-Newman. Timeout for Kiko Santos and Newberry. Carson-Newman 5 points away from victory tonight, leading 20-15 in the third set here on the Eagle Sports Network. Back at Holt Fieldhouse, Carson-Newman leads 20-15 on a 3-0 scoring run. After Newberry has really made this a set in the third set, they've done it all night long. Carson-Newman in control in that first set. Newberry made it interesting. Carson-Newman able to secure it 25-21, 25-18. After a bit more of a tightly contested set early on, Carson-Newman pulled away and stayed out in front. Now we sit here in set 3, 20-15 on the Eagle Sports Network. As McKenna Hall will serve. Dill sets up for Schaefer. Wheeler near side for Kieran, but a carry called on Julia Wheeler. Point Newberry. Schaefer will retreat to serve for the Wolves. Newberry trailing by 4, 20-16. Newberry out of timeouts here, so they won't be able to stop play. To regroup as Kieran, big swing off the set from Cherry. Blocked at the net by Newberry. Now Hall for Kieran again. She's blocked. Once again kept alive by Hall. Weaver pokes it over. And now McMahon at the net. Hall back for Wheeler. Nice dig by Taylor Hall. Now far side Brown. Misses the near sideline. Out of bounds. Point Carson-Newman. The Eagles denied a couple times at the net. But Newberry with the attacking error gives Carson-Newman its 21st point of this third set. Carson-Newman now 4 points away from securing a sweep here at Holt Fieldhouse, a place where the Eagles have had so much success this season. As Cherry with the serve goes near the net, tipped around. Brown able to get it over. Now swing by Weaver. A dig by Bradley, far side Brown. Up to line by Trinity Hayfield. Now Cherry for Kieran. Big swing. She puts it down and scores. Taylor Kieran with the kill. She gets Carson-Newman within 3 points with her 6th kill of the night. Cherry will serve again. And this one will go out of bounds past the back line. Point Newberry. Katie Morrison set to check back in for Kate Brown. She'll go back to serve. 22-17, Eagles still out in front, but the Wolves look for a late push to push this 1-4 sets. As Morrison will serve. Hayfie back row towards Cherry. Cherry sets up Wheeler, and she'll put it down and score. Julia Wheeler doesn't get much easier than that for her. Beautiful set, and she scores. As McCombs and Adams check back in for Hayfie and Kieran. As McCombs goes back to serve. Carson-Newman out in front, 23-17, looking to close it out. McCombs ready to tee it up for Carson-Newman. Leading by 6, needs 2 points to win this match. Dill far side for Taylor Hall. Cherry sets up far side Adams. Kept alive by Newberry. Dill far side again for Taylor Hall. Nice job by Wheeler with the dig. Now near side Wheeler again, and she'll put it down right over the hands of, I believe that was Schaefer. And Dill, and that, it was Carol Ann Hussey up in there. As Carson-Newman now match point, 24-17. McCombs will serve. And Jim gets loud for the home team, the Carson-Newman Eagles. As Dill sets up, far side Taylor Hall. McKenna Hall with the dig on the back row. Now Cherry towards Wheeler. Big swing for Wheeler, goes off the hands of Bradley and down. Point Carson-Newman. The match goes to Carson-Newman in sweeping fashion. 3-0. Carson-Newman wins here at Holt Fieldhouse. 25-21 in the first set, 25-18 in the second, and 25-17 in the third. Newberry didn't go down without a fight, but Carson-Newman able to stave them off and win the match tonight at Holt Fieldhouse. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Ryan Wilkes signing off on the Eagle Sports Network. Everyone have a good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Soccer with Carson-Newman and the Bluefield State Big Blue right here on the Eagle Sports Network.